things. And the reason is because it gives a chance, it's like an incubator space for cheap.
Yeah. What they cost you, right? But, all right, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a roll call, please, Myra.
Commissioner Tuckman,
Here.
Commissioner Oliveros,
Here.
Commissioner Jay, Present. Chair Chappelle,
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Here.
Commissioner Cohen, here, Commissioner Prasad.
Here. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes of the October 6th, 2025 meeting? Any corrections need to be noted? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Obviously, we can just bypass the visitors and public comments and reports and presentations. I'm going to just move along to new business. To set one public hearing, changes to address House Bill 3395 from 2023, and House Bill 2138 from 2025. This evening, the Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on legislative amendment LA-2025-06 to discuss potential changes to standards for single room occupancies and other requirements to address House Bill 3395 2023, House Bill 2138 from 2025. Planning Commission will make a recommendation to the City Council based on the complete record, including the testimony received following tonight's public hearing. These proceedings will be recorded. This hearing will be held in accordance with the land use procedures required by the city and state of Oregon. This is a type 4 legislative procedure. At the beginning of the public hearing tonight, staff will identify the applicable substantive criteria from the city's comprehensive plan and or state of Oregon statewide planning goals. For anyone wishing to speak, we ask that you use the speaker card provided. When called upon to speak, you must be recognized by the chair and state your name and address for the public record. Before we begin, does any commissioner wish to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest in this matter? No. I will go ahead and open the public hearing LA-2025-06, and it is 7:04.
Oh. Our podcast.
May we have a staff report, please?
You betcha. So, hi there, everybody. Is it on? What do you think? Is it on?
Lean into it.
Okay. Hi there, everybody. My name is Fred Alexander, and I am the city planner here at the City of Independence. And I'm here to present tonight on LA 2025-06. Thank you, Myra. Anywho, very nice. What this code change addresses is things that you have looked at before. In 2023, the state of Oregon passed House Bill 3395, which was the housing omnibus bill. That bill required a variety of code changes, including requirements to allow single room occupancies in a number of zones, as well as requirement to allow ground floor housing units that are affordable to households making 60% of the area median income. That's what this code change is intended to do. The substantive criteria for this are listed in the Oregon State Planning Goals, the Independence Comprehensive Plan, and the Independence Development Code, specifically subchapters 10 and 11. The code change would switch up some of our definitions that we have within the code. Currently, we have a variety of things that look like single residential or single room occupancies, including they look a lot like it, so including boarding houses, dormitories, dwelling quad or plinth, rooming houses. And so what we would do with this code change is get rid of all of those and just sort of have one standalone single room occupancy use. You can see those changes on pages 12 and 13 of your packet. Going on, then you can see on page 14 that it would take out some of those things within the matrix and just put single room occupancy use subject to the requirements of ORS 197A.430. You'll see on page 15, there's just a change to miss that typo. And then on pages 17, you'll see the single room occupancy used in commercial zones, and then the residential structures with an affordable housing covenant in commercial zones permitted as an outright allowed use, so you see that on page 17. Basically, this thing is very similar to what you folks considered a couple of years ago. What this would do is address some additional changes that the state made to single room occupancies as part of House Bill 2138 and 2025. My analysis of the findings is provided in the staff report. Basically, this is consistent, we're doing as best as we can, given our zoning framework and the cards that the city of Oregon has dealt us, so. That's pretty much my analysis. Are there any questions of me?
Why did the city council not address this?
You know, it was. I think we had a lot of things going on at the time, we kept on. Looking at we set agendas every meeting. And we'll plan out future meetings, and we kept on looking at the agenda and we're like, that one's really full, let's push this back, that one's really full, let's push this back, and then at a certain point we forgot about it. So that's why we didn't get to it. In the past, it was just something that kept on getting pushed because there was more press.
I assume they knew that it was gonna change. If you just wait long enough, it will
You
go
just
you know, you just do one, version versus multiple, okay.
Does this make it easier or harder by getting rid of those various other things and just saying single room occupancy?
I think that this is gonna make it absolutely easier, because if we were to get an application and to look at something, it's quite possible that we'd be like, which one of these does this actually fall into? And I think it would be quite confusing to try and figure out which bucket it actually fell into. As it was written, because is it a boarding house, or is it a quad or a quint, or is it a single room occupancy? And we would treat them all potentially a little bit different, so I think, yeah, making them one common thing makes a lot of sense. Actually, as part of the last time when this was coming through, that was my instinct, was that, oh, let's combine it because they all look very similar. But at the time, because of the way it was written, we got advice that no, keep them separate and just sort of treat this one as a standalone thing, because of how it got rewritten as part of this. That's why it's like, no, let's get rid of some of these other ones and just make it clear how we're processing these applications.
Alex?
That actually makes me feel better, to be honest, that's gonna be the answer to that question. I know we don't have a lot of latitude, or any latitude really to make any changes to this realistically, but I appreciate that it's actually simplifying. Mostly just saying it out into the ether, into the YouTube of, like, this is actually probably seemingly one of the better pieces of legislation that the state has come over the top, or the legislature has come over the top with the planning commission.
Right, and I mean, I will say, since I've been here, we have not had any requests for a boarding house, a rooming house, quad or a quint.
There's no room for vacancy or whatever.
Yeah, so.
Was it?
Yeah, I just wanted to, agree with what was just said. I mean, having this definition, I don't know, call it an umbrella term. But it's like, as we were reading the state's definition, it's like, it's not a quad. But I understand now why they would use that to encompass other, parameters.
Right, exactly.
Any other questions or comments? We wish to hear from everyone who is interested in this proposal. Please limit your comments and questions to 3 minutes, and when you remember to state your name and address for the record. Any other comments, commissioners? If there's no objection, I will now close the public hearing. Time is 7:11. So. You have a sample motion on the screen and then.
It's on your script, I think.
Oh, yeah, the last one.
Who wants to make a stab? You can just read it. Or you.
I move forward the recommendation of approval on LA 2025-06 to be admitted city council.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Moving right along. 3.2. Discussion of potential code change to allow additional commercial uses on Monmouth Street.
Yes, so, okay, so at the meeting of October 14th, the council meeting of October 14th. The owner of the historic home at 710 Monmouth Street, it's the white house on the northwest corner of 7th and Monmouth. That's been getting redone over the past couple of years. They requested a change to zoning requirements to allow her to create a small wedding venue on the property. I told her that it wasn't allowed given the current zoning because we would consider it a home occupation. And there would be evidence of the home occupation outside, which is basically something that our home occupation doesn't allow. It would be an outdoor wedding venue. Now, the council was kind of sympathetic to the request, they were kind of interested in it, and so I'm bringing it to you to see if you have any interest in it as well. There's two options that I see of how we could proceed, well, three options. So one is we could potentially extend the mixed use pedestrian friendly commercial transitional zone over what's essentially 3 parcels. The 3 parcels that it would include the Centro de Milagros Church, the house between the creek and the subject property, and then the subject property. So you can see that 3 parcels over, potentially that could work. Another thought that I had was potentially we could create some sort of additional allowance for historic homes on Monmouth to permit some sort of commercial use, and we could create a set of standards to potentially make that work, potentially a certain size lot. Potentially a certain integrity of the house or value of the historic structure. I mean, a couple of the houses that I thought might work under that framework. And I should have sat by the computer. Hey, Myra, can you pull open Google Maps?
Brett, are we talking about on the south side of
North.
It's north side specifically, and so I provided some addresses there, so go to 411 Monmouth Street.
So you're talking about the mayor's house?
Well, the mayor's house could be one of them, but another one could click on that picture right there. Another one could be this house as well.
Yeah.
Where potentially you could, and they actually said, these folks actually wrote me as well and said, hey, could we do some sort of commercial type use in this structure? And I mean, maybe it makes sense, and so that's why I'm putting this out as an option. I think one of the things that we would have to consider for both of these is parking. Parking.
I was gonna bring it up.
I know, I was gonna come and look at you.
I was gonna raise my hand.
We got you, Lenny, we got you.
Parking, but I mean. Potentially it makes sense to allow some degree of commercial use in some of the historic homes. So the third option, of course, is not to do anything. and to leave it the way it is. And so that's an option as well, so I'm bringing this to you to have a discussion to try and figure out which way to go with this. Really, it is completely wide open, it's completely your decision to go whatever way.
So with the houses that it has, I'm thinking, well, maybe she could work with the church and people to park there. But the trolley stops also just short of the bridge, people could park at Central Plaza, take their trolley over, do that. There's not much parking at Pioneer Park, so that really doesn't help. But any place else along there, they don't even have access to that much room. You can't park on Monmouth. And so where would people be on the sides on the
Right.
members? Yeah, right, you can't park on the west side of Seventh Street there, so that is a real issue. Unless they make some way to ferry people in.
I have a question about, like maximum occupancy, basically, like what, like sort of how many people would be allowed in a facility like that? I got those types of numbers would probably help, but I also hate to do one-off things generally, so I appreciate trying to do like should we extend the MUPC down Monmouth Avenue? Because I mean, there's already like there's Old City Hall, there's Parallel, there's what's across the street from there? It's like art.
Yeah.
There's a White House like next to. So there's a block or two away. Yeah, right. There's a couple things. So it sort of does make sense, but I do think that if you had 100 people show up, that becomes an issue.
Yeah, and so I mean, that's sort of the thing with extending or makes the MUPC zone that we have out there is because there is no sort of limitations that we have built into it right now. And we wouldn't want to write something in it because then it's applying everywhere.
Yeah.
And so,
We should ask the homeowner if she has a plan. Does she have a plan, or does she have
well, her thoughts about parking are very similar to what you said. You know, potentially having people ride the trolley in and then doing some parking at Pioneer Park. The thing is that we couldn't require that.
Yeah.
I mean, and what happens when what happens when it's raining, right? People don't wanna ride the trolley in or whatever it might be, yeah, so there's no sort of hammer that would say thou shalt ride the trolley. So everybody knows that's what I would want, right, I want people to trolley.
And you can't build sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't necessarily build code, you're like predicated on the existence of some sort of mass transit service. Right.
Right, well, I mean, this is part of the reason why I was like, maybe some sort of overlay zone kind of might make sense, because then you're like crafting a more distinct sort of approach for these houses. So you could potentially limit scale.
I have a concern too about one kind of commercial use. You can't say, oh, this, you have a wedding venue, but you can't have a fill in blank, residence. Yeah. I don't know, I just worry about trying to be so one-off specific.
Yeah.
Then the neighbor wants to do something completely different, we have no way of saying we can't do something.
I've been in cities where you take a historic home and it becomes a restaurant.
Right.
You know, for fixed price dining or something like that, more of an elegant situation.
Yeah.
But that would probably fit under this, that it'd be a wedding venue, but probably overlay could also be a.
Right, and so, I mean, and that's what it was something like that I was thinking about with the overlay. Myra, can you go back and show some of the properties, just because I mean, some of our truly finest historic properties are on Monmouth Street. So Right.
Calm down, so,
Oh, yeah, and some of these you can do that in right now.
yeah.
And we specifically wrote, we transitioned the MUPC zone, the zone to be more like that over here, because this was zone commercial. We're like, we don't want people tearing down these houses here, because we essentially had two different competing goals working at the same time, where one was historic preservation, one was commercial development. And so we tried to blend those. Myra, can I drive real quick and just show some of these houses? I'm sorry to commandeer the computer.
Would have more cars more often.
Yeah, there's exactly, so I mean,
Wedding, one side.
Sidewalk for.
so this is a very nice house, potentially should be included. This was an old Victorian. I always like to point out, this used to have a turret on this thing that was quite tall, right? Imagine that it blew down in the Columbus Day storm. So I wouldn't say any of these houses are particularly qualifying, but this house right here is a beauty. It's Italianate, it's a beautiful house.
A nice garden too.
Very nice garden, you know, something like that, you could see something potentially decent working out there, again, probably stop within a block. Going down further, of course, the old mayor's house. Then you have this house right here, which is the subject house that we're talking about. I'll just point out,
Had a lot of renovation.
they have, I'll point out this house as well. This is kind of unique because it's right by the creek, it'd be potentially kind of interesting. And then, just, I mean, this one's also by the creek, that would be,
But you have some commercial, even just right, once you cross the bridge, right, is that right?
yeah, so what? I mean, so that's sort of the thing, is this church right now is in the high density zone. It's not in the commercial zone,
But they're.
Yeah,
but right next door is a commercial zone.
the yellow house that all did.
Yes, now that was the last one, I was gonna point to this one and say, this is also in a residential zone right now. Potentially you could include that house as well in this overlay sort of concept. Just, and it's just an idea, it's something that you could sort of. I don't know. Potentially allow some additional commercial use of properties like that. Now, I mean, I can't remember, I think I got a question about this house one time. Where somebody was wanting to do some sort of therapist office or something in it. And it's not allowed, so it would be allowed as a home occupation, but essentially you can't have any sort of evidence that it's
Can't have a sign.
you can put up a sign, but it's super small.
And another block on down where they have that drive through
Yeah.
I don't even have a clue what they sell there, but it always has a sign that says open sugar butter.
Yeah, that's actually commercial. Right there, that's commercial.
I think on the phase of it, I don't necessarily hate just moving it in, there's transition coffee shop here. Having transition from like go down, right?
Okay.
Along with that, but
So we just have one, don't say so.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, like. I don't hate it on the surface, I do have some concerns about event, I guess, so it's. One of those things, but it shouldn't matter, right, it should be.
Yeah, so you're only saying like a couple of houses down.
Yeah, but I mean, just that we have like this, which, you know, this transitional zone, there's already kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge that's dragged out on that of commercial and residential. So it doesn't feel like it necessarily changes the deal. But at the same time, we're good with that parking.
Well, sooner or later, if they, I can't imagine it'd be a wedding of hundreds of people. The house just isn't big enough, cars, still. People parking. Got a first IES or. Every weekend, or the neighbors get tired of it.
Does that also trigger? I mean, just for it, so it's a, sounds like a commercial venue. That triggers a lot of like different types of.
It'd probably be a site design review, but it might not be a traffic impact analysis, though it might, though I mean.
Kind of go, well, I guess, yeah, parking because of traffic, but then also like sprinkler, you know, too many people, like, what is this?
Well,
Yeah,
they
that's-
might have to redo their whole plumbing system.
Yeah, it is just-
That's what, yeah, that's what I mean, what is that, what else, is there any unintended consequences from around?
Handicap bathrooms.
That's it, I think that's secondary to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it is part of the equation.
I think that's part of that equation, yeah, so what I can do is research it more, in terms of the utility impacts, just to make sure there's nothing like that. But then, I mean, what I'm hearing is maybe there's not a concern with extending the transition zone down just a little bit.
I'm gonna. You know, a little bit ambivalent,
I think
but
parking is really my concern. And I don't wanna see
especially,
these beautiful old homes become no longer homes. I don't wanna see a dentist office there, I don't wanna see a sprinkler system office there, I don't think, a restaurant in any of these homes is conducive with the neighborhood and the parking. That doesn't make sense. King House at least has the parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, even not this part of downtown, obviously it's street parking, so.
Yeah, we have the shuttle system now, unless we, repurpose Skeletor as a parking structure.
I thought it was Stonehenge.
It's both.
So,
Yeah. Well, okay,
okay, I'll research it a little bit more and I'll try and count parking spots to see. Cause I mean, I think we're talking on-street parking and then what I'll do is I'll try and. I mean, yeah, I'll go out and I'll look at parking, get a rough estimate of how much parking is out there, as well as like. How many we could conceivably put into Pioneer Park this step.
It's like,
There's not much, yeah, there's definitely not much, and I mean, you get a few people in Pioneer Park and all of a sudden. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to turn a car around.
Did the pink house have to come up with parking? Because they don't have any parking. do they?
No, our downtown overlay zone does not
Oh,
require
okay,
parking, for
CBD.
yeah. But this one meet that, you know,
we'll let Fred work on that.
I'll come back with some additional information, I think that this was at least a good start to the conversation.
Moving along to 7.3, discussion, potential consolidation of the low and medium density of residential zone.
Alright, so this one is. Last time I mentioned that I think that there's a possibility of consolidating these two zones. And when we look at it, there's just not a lot of differences between the two zones. Now. Going down it, so. The things that are different, one is dwelling quadruples, which are gonna go away for the last. Thing that we're talking about. Manufactured dwelling parks, I don't think that we're gonna get a manufactured dwelling park in either of our zones. The low or medium density. One of the things that differentiates itself is. Our low density zone only allows 2 attached houses together. Our medium density zone allows 4 attached houses together, that's one difference. Parking area or structure for a multifamily dwelling, I feel like that could be in either zone. Ultimately, and then things like daycare homes. I feel like we're gonna need to clarify that a little bit anyway. Then you see the density requirements. Our density requirements, basically, they allow the same density regardless, because you'll remember the state told us to rely on. Lot size and not density, and so when you look at lot size, they're exactly the same. And then front setbacks are the main difference. You for the rest of them, and it's 5 feet. It's like, so when you compare these things side by side, it just doesn't make sense to me that we have two and potentially we differentiate the zone, or I mean, potentially it makes sense to combine them, is what I think. And so what do you folks think, when you look at this, it's very similar thoughts?
Does it make your job easier?
It potentially makes my job easier, what I do think that coming out of this infill code, we might have some distinctions related more to the historic portion of town where there's more flexibility of what to do with lots. And so having that play well with the low and medium density framework is. It gets a little complicated to me, it seems like, and cause you'll probably have to create that framework in both the zones. So rather than doing that, if we just had one and then had the historic. Or the more flexible lot standards, on top of that, I think that might make sense, that's part of why I bring it up. I think that we're gonna, this info code, our consultant's still working on it, I think that they're gonna bring it back at a certain point, and I feel like there's gonna be a whole bunch of little changes in it, and I just wanna make sure that we're like talking about things that we can do sort of as we're going along. Because if there's red flags, then we'll just stop going down that road.
Would it be more helpful for developers to
Well,
make it easier to understand what they can do and where they can trip?
I mean, I think that a lot of developers can figure this stuff out. I think what the weird thing about how our code is written right now is our low density zone is applied to the areas that have the most flexibility and, in my mind, potential for development. And so calling it the low density zone is a weird thing, right? And thinking about it in terms of low and medium density is probably a weird thing. Also, they're very similar. They're, when you look at them, they're like, and I mean, that's a lot of similarities. And so I guess I just wanted us all to sort of be able to picture it. And if there's red flags, potentially we can figure out a way to keep them and find them, but.
So you work on that too.
I think that this is something that's gonna probably get fed into that infill code project. If it's not a hot button topic for anyone.
No, actually, my question is this going to be off by topic for anyone?
Well, it's,
Are there some red flags or?
I don't, it's one of those things where, I mean, maybe people feel comfortable being in a low density residential zone, but their low density residential zone is exactly like the medium density residential zone. It almost allows the exact same development. And so. I don't know,
Maybe we give brownie points for. Get ahead of it, so that we go to legislation instead.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, whether or not this falls with the recent housing bills.
well, it definitely does, and I mean, it might make us look good in terms of our
Proactive approach.
proactive approach. And also like, you know, we're having to do a lot of reporting in terms of housing production and like that we're showing, hey, we're making legislative changes and all this sort of stuff. If we said, hey, look, we got rid of low density zoning, even though in reality, it was exactly the same as their medium density zoning, potentially we could make that look good. Potentially the residents, so they'll be like, they're taking away my low density residential zone, but again, what I would say is. The zones are exactly the same, like per near, like they are almost exactly the same.
Tomato,
Tomato, like if we're gonna like. Get upset about a 15-foot or a 10-foot front yard setback. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that.
So then what would be the new term?
It's medium or hot.
We could call it residential.
Yeah.
There you go. Residential zone.
Yeah,
Any other questions?
that's safe, great, good Good size.
Section 8, other discussion information items, but before we watch video. What's the status of our crosswalk situation?
So, I guess I don't know the exact answer, we're getting new ramps at a lot of places. We have gotten some money for a rapid flashing beacon at the high school.
But just at that one.
Just at that one.
You're talking about sort of what was the out?
Well, the
Pilot front,
3
yeah,
pilot ones that were
yeah,
constructed.
Yeah, no, I mean, we found that it was a complete success, we know that they're absolutely needed. And we know that every crosswalk that we're trying to put in is stupid expensive.
Right.
So we do have money for one at Fifth. That project, because of the crown on the road, is so expensive. So it's getting designed right now, but what our engineer is saying is potentially we didn't get enough money, which is just bummer, but so we're working on that. We're trying to do Fifth because specifically it's close to the elementary school. We also, I mean, once we get that done, we absolutely want to do the one at the high school as well, make that a protected crossing. I can't remember how many, I think the total that we counted was something like 675 kids, was that the number I listed? Yeah. In one day, right? Crossing at the 3 crossings, and like 500 plus of them were at that mid-block one by the high school. We absolutely know that that should be a protected crossing. What we are trying to do, and we did get money from the state to try this project, is we want help looking at the highway and how the trolley gets through the highway. Because what we realize is, as it's going through the school, it all gets clogged up there, and so our trolley times go way down, get way slower. Right, and so as we're thinking about reliability and potentially like extending our funding to provide, you know, good service and everything like that. What we asked was for help thinking about how the trolley goes through the highway, essentially make it we called it a trolley rapid transit project, right, like bus rapid transit. Where we look at the street, is it possible to time signals or incorporate a queue jump or something like that to make the trolley go like that? What our conversations with ODOT, the signal guy, indicated to us, and it made a whole lot of sense, was, okay, you got Gun Club, you got 16th Street, if they work together, that'd be great, but you still got kids getting out of school and crossing irregularly at the mid-block. And so if you put in some sort of light for the mid-block, and then you timed it with Gun Club, the mid-block and 16th, then you can just sort of funnel a whole bunch of cars through at one time. So we're trying to do that project before we do the rapid flashing beacon or whatever the approach will be for the mid-block at right at the gate. So that's where the status of those are. I would absolutely love to have lots of money to put in crosswalks.
Have you thought about asking social media so that also needs to be traffic engineer? So they probably help you. I'm a little sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, no, everybody's an expert about driving,
Yeah.
you know, because we all move too, you know, so we all have ideas about that. I think that's true. I mean, when Councilmember Swartz was on the commission, one thing he talked about was a jurisdictional transfer of the roadway. If we could ever do that, that would be so sweet, especially if we got a lot of money from the state to do it. Because of the
Take it off their hands.
to take it off their hands.
That would get.
That road's getting rough, and they gave us a pot of money that we could redo the road and they could transfer the jurisdiction to us, that would be amazing.
That's something.
The state as part of their last transportation bill that went down in flames, they had a whole bunch of money in there for jurisdictional transfers. And so that was one thing I was looking at, thinking. That would be really awesome.
I mean, every road is a liability. Right? So-
Yeah, right, and why would you want that road as a local road, providing connection between Independence and Monmouth, give that puppy to us. Give us some money to take care of it.
Isn't it technically though, part of Route 51?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's state land, jurisdiction.
Yes.
Cause that would be sweet if we could control that
I don't know if anybody's noticed it, 99 in Maine, in Monmouth. There's a sewer cover that's coming up. The road is sinking
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
I told one of the council members, I said, you guys need to get a hold of the state about that. So she took the picture and was gonna send it to their, somebody in the city first, but
And they're in a different. Go after district, right, or something like that, there's how many things we read about, oh, they all say. I thought
but
they
it was just, you know, they just did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 years ago.
It's not
Less
even
than
that.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be sure nice, I mean, it's,
So that's
our situation.
Well, if you find a pot of money, you can use some speed bumps on right away.
That's
I
what
doubt
you're
it.
saying on the
Yeah.
solution, is so that you can get that.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's like a long game, 20 years.
Yeah.
I brought up the fact today that speeding cars, I was out doing something behind my truck the other day, and I had a tennis ball there, I was putting the tennis ball out, so just to see what happened, and of course, my wife said, well, it caused an accident, I said, let's just flip the ball, my dog, even though we don't have a dog. Yeah. Someday.
I can't wait to watch the video about traffic calming measures, that's you with the
That's
tennis ball.
Well, there you go, I yeah, so.
Calming measures, I wanna ask the transportation committee about electric bikes.
Oh my God, that's still.
They can go very fast, they're like trained, they're changing transportation, that's part of the reason why I wanted to develop these portable. Or not portable, parallel networks, you know, if this routes for cars and this routes for cars, like give somebody a place where they can ride an electric bike. Or a scooter or a personal mobility device or whatever it might be, because. I mean, I think that's what we're gonna have to do, like, because ultimately, I think. Putting them all in the same place is not a good idea, you know, like. Putting that e-bike. With a regular bike in the bike lane on Monmouth. That's not a good idea, right? And you're exactly right, they move fast, they move way faster than people are anticipating a bike to be moving.
And they're quiet.
Yeah.
We did the inspiration garden, we've got a lot of people that walk there with their dogs. The dog's out on the leash, and you have an e-bike coming through really fast. Hasn't happened yet, and I yelled at people, we need to slow down. But I can just see the dog cutting in front of it,
Yeah.
and somebody getting, you know, going off their bike, and the person holding the dog going down. It's gonna.
You can share that,
And they come up behind you quietly. And they don't say on your right or anything. Most people who are riding are not very polite.
Like
There's-
if it's not human powered, it's got a motorized motor.
Yeah.
It should be registered, or it should be licensed.
It's a motorcycle.
Or at least thought, so.
And kids are not wearing helmets and masks. They're getting hurt badly when they get off.
Yeah, I mean, you go fast, I will say. They're kicking the dance to ride, and the first time I rode one, I was like, these things are amazing. I will say fundamentally, we wanna encourage e-bikes because they're less wear and tear on the roads than cars and all that sort of stuff, you know,
Obey the rules.
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I agree with you, like, give folks a network where they can be safe and they're not gonna be running into folks, yeah.
All right, well, the additional comments before we proceed to next meeting?
May I make a comment? Fred did a really nice job of taking us on a tour. One time when he was showing how higher density dwellings that already exist kind of blend in many places to the community. So what you pointed out was that 12th and Monmouth, they drive on this, but it's a quad, I think, 12th and Monmouth. That just kind of blends right into the community, and it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Whatever. There's still that on it. Where are we at?
Yeah.
Right there it is.
Oh, I thought we started the tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Right.
Right there. Swing around.
Yeah.
So that is kind of low key. There's also 3 identical units at Main and Boatland. The big difference is there's no landscaping at all at Main and Boatland, and those really look like a big fortress out there compared to this right here. And I'm questioning, is there a landscape requirement when you put something like this in?
There's somewhat, but not a huge one. I mean, that's something that as we're talking about design standards, that's something that we could talk about as well. So how we do our landscaping standards is basically, it's a street tree for a house, or it's a street tree for like every 35 feet of frontage of street.
Well, this has got like almost like a Lombardy poplar kind of hedging and all, and it softens it a great deal.
Yeah.
Any chance you could go down Main Street, you have to go back to the plans probably.
Where are you at?
I know the ones that vote landing.
Yeah. Go on Main Street like you're going towards Salem, you know. Out of town. Keep going. Couple more streets. Right there.
Uh-oh.
No,
You didn't
you're way back.
Look, you had it right. It was right on there. I let the station go. One computer.
Yes.
You gotta try. Okay. There you go.
Yeah, see, those are the same buildings, I believe that.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
There's 3 of them in a row, and you got this little lone tree out there that somebody probably forgot to cut down. Beautiful birch. But go back to the corner of them. You know, if that had some softening,
Yeah,
that wouldn't look, that could fit in any neighborhood, but the way it is right there, you know, I'd hate to have that next to me.
Yeah.
But the other one's a whole different issue, just because the landscaping softens it.
I play the other.
Sure.
It's a lot smaller lot. And so you have, so the other lot is much larger, even though there's probably the same amount of parking.
No, there's more parking here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah, but just like they're using more of the lot rather than just having it for landscaping, so that's probably part of it too, because it's, the setback is further.
Yeah, but with the setback, you got plenty of room to bring in some edging.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, then it's also hard to get out if you're on the street,
Yes.
trying to see around it, that's just my only thing.
Understand?
Also, I like to put it up.
I will say. I think trees are nice. I think that the more we can plant trees, that's a good thing. And so if there's right of way out there, I think I don't know, I think a tree planting culture, if we create a tree planting culture in this community, that would be pretty sweet. And
But you need to get rid of the pines, that's some nice trees.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they can only be short stuff.
Yeah, they could only be short stuff.
Unless they're shaped like this, like
Yeah.
they pruned them out.
Which looks really dainty on for wingspan.
Yeah, anyway,
That's all.
yeah, no, I think that it's a good comment, it's something to definitely think about, as we're going forward, but.
Well, you opened my eyes to the community.
Oh, yeah, and one thing that you said on those tours was, the value of code enforcement, just to make sure that places are kept up, and I thought it was interesting that it was single family homes that were poorly maintained, that were the thing that people gravitated to much more than the density per se. It was the maintenance, it turned out more to be a code enforcement issue, and so I came back and I said, hey, how do we do code enforcement better?
One was about one gun club.
Well, I mean, that's one, but I mean, just writ large, you know, like as you walk around, people see the code enforcement issues, even if they're a single family house, much more than they see issues associated with places.
But there isn't much code enforcement, right?
You see that car driving around.
All you have to do is call,
Well, you call and you call and you call.
that is in our experience, today, we've made calls down here, someone always comes to check, a bunch of that. We called about all kinds of things in our neighborhood,
We have that.
jack up cars out of the street and crap. In front of the house, that.
Yeah, I would say if there's an issue, call,
Response.
like, just. Cause that way we know about it, one thing, that my sense is that sometimes people don't complain because they don't think that anything will be done, and I think if you don't complain because you don't think anything will be done. Definitely nothing will get done,
And it
so.
could also be that people have lots of things. I mean, in our neighborhood, several people called about that place where the trailer used to be, because the grass was really high. And it finally got cut, but then it came all up in Winans Lakes this summer. And it was never cut again, I think everybody kind of went, because it took several weeks to get it cut the first time.
Yeah, sometimes high grass things are an issue. For that, we definitely send a letter, but then. If we do grass enforcement, we have to get a warrant to go out there and actually, cause if we do that abatement ourselves, we're the ones actually having to get a warrant to enter the property, and so that extends the time frame quite a bit.
So the city can't cut the grass and send a bill.
We can, but we have to get a warrant to get onto the property.
Yeah.
So who enforced the Habitat for Humanity on 7th lot?
They've been,
That grass was over 5 feet tall.
they've been coming back,
And it,
yeah, they've been keeping it well cut since they started.
pretty
And,
tall.
yeah, they have done a good job the rest of the summer.
If high grass, if there's an issue, but any code enforcement, feel free to call it. Code enforcement.
All right, you ready for a video? Let's do it.
We do have a video, now I will just say this real quick, so Alex literally said that he was in a Sears building, right? The Sears manufacturing facility, and so I thought it was gonna be perfect, just kind of dumb luck. Now, this is one of those videos that we're always talking about housing. And when I saw this video originally, I got so inspired, and it was almost like maybe we should go back to the future. So it's a pretty old video, but I think it's a good one, so. Yeah.
Many people have a passion for houses, for the architecture, the materials, old homes, new homes, small houses, big houses. But these homes, all varying in size and style and location, have something in common. They were ordered from a catalog.
Well, in 1908, Sears started offering entire kit homes through these catalogs. You could purchase a kit home out of a catalog, and it would come to you in about 30,000 pieces of house. And they included a 75-page instruction book with the house, so you'd know how to put all those pieces of house together.
What these kits didn't come with was the person who put the homes together. giving a whole new meaning to the term some assembly required.
Sears promised a man of average abilities could assemble one of these homes in about 90 days.
Typically, it took a little longer than that for your average kit home owner. Most people recruited their family and friends to work nights and weekends, and for many, it was more like 9 months than 90 days. But for some, it took even longer.
Got another great letter from somebody who said they had a Sears kit home. They moved in 1946. I said, well, that's interesting, but Sears actually stopped selling these in 1940. She said, oh, you don't understand, I bought it in 39, we finished in 46. Well, the kit included everything.
Rosemary Thornton knows everything and anything you ever wanted to know about Sears homes.
The kit included 750 pounds of nails, 27 gallons of paint and varnish, 10 pounds of wood putty, 460 pounds of window weight, 72 coat hooks, a lot of lumber, and 1 doorbell.
And that's just a fraction of what she knows. When Rose discovered what a Sears house was, it was love at first sight.
About 5-6 years ago, somebody asked me to write an article about the Sears homes in Carlinville. Carlinville, Illinois has 152 Sears homes in a 12-block area. So I drove over there expecting to, dash off one quick article and get my check, as most freelancers do. And I went over there and I drove the 12 blocks of these Sears homes, and I was smitten. I was completely in love. And then as I researched the story, I was just...
Welcome, Nick. Come on in.
Don't be rude. Say good morning to Neen.
ever more enamored of the whole affair, because they just came in boxcars. They came in pieces and bits, and people build them.
In the past couple of years, Rose has written 2 books about these homes and has devoted herself pretty much full-time to these historic structures. Rose is attracted to these homes because of how they came to be. Customers thumbed through Sears catalogs like they were shopping for tools or furniture, and well, they ordered themselves a house.
Richard Warren Sears is one of my heroes in history. I mean, he was an absolute genius at merchandising. And his catalog at its peak had 1,400 pages, 100,000 items, and weighed 4 pounds. He suspected that getting more people into a home of their own was a way to sell more of the stuff in his catalog. So I think that was a driving part of why he started selling kit homes.
So why buy a kit home? Why not buy a pre-built house that's ready to be lived in? Well, why do we do most of the things we do? To save money.
By building your own kit home, you'd save about 1/3 the cost of, compared to a traditional stick-built home, which, at any time is a very significant savings. So you'd end up with maybe a 1/3 equity in your home. You could get precisely what you wanted. You could peruse the pages of their catalogs. They offered 370 different designs. And it was a broad range from bungalows to kind of trailing edge Victorians to colonials. You could pick just about any popular housing style of the day.
In price range?
And price range. The prices range from about $500 to $5,000, depending on which kit home you picked.
We're surrounded by Sears homes.
Yes, mired in Sears homes. 24 of the little beauties in a row.
Rose gave a walking tour of Wood River, Illinois, where Standard Oil built a neighborhood of kit homes for its workers. Sears offered 370 different styles, and Rose could name each and every one by sight.
Dreaming and talking about Sears homes.
Okay, so name this house.
The Whitehall.
Name that house.
Langston.
Name that house.
Fullerton, Carlin, Roanoke. Can't see, it looks like Langston, and then another Whitehall.
Wow. So you got 30,000 pieces delivered to your house.
Well, actually, it was delivered to the train station.
And then people had to move it themselves?
People would take their horse and wagon or maybe a little Model T truck and
100
run down
times?
to the train station and pick up all those pieces.
It's for this reason that Sears homes are often located within 1 to 2 miles of railroad tracks. After all, it was an entire house, from roofing shingles to framing lumber to doorknobs.
When you've got all that stuff, how easy is it, to get a piece of lumber and say, okay, I know exactly where this goes?
Well, that was one of the beautiful parts of how Sears did this. All of the lumber had a stamp on it. This one says A119, and the stamp is typically in a blue or black font, about a little less than an inch tall. And this stamp, together with that 75-page instruction book, told you how all the pieces went together. And one misnomer, a lot of people say Sears homes are prefab. They were not prefabricated. This was a true kit home, but all of the lumber was pre-cut. One of their best advertisements said, hang your saw on a nail all day. So you didn't even need a saw to build your Sears home. You would take the framing members, you'd look at the stamp, look at your instruction book, and start nailing. It was really an ingenious system.
One misconception about Sears homes is that since most of them weren't constructed by professional builders, they lack quality and sturdiness.
These houses, almost without exception, were built by homeowners for their families. And Sears specified in the blueprints things down to the details of the spacing of the nails. So if you follow the directions, you probably weren't going to make a mistake. So I imagine when people were building a home for their own family, they were very thorough, very conscientious, and very careful. So I do think that's part of the reason they endure.
And they were also built to last because these houses were constructed with first-grade lumber, southern yellow pine, and cypress siding. So how does one know what's a Sears home and what isn't?
On this model, the Whitehall, it has the double bays. One of the bays is hidden under that porch. But you see it's got the first and second floor bay, and then atop that it has a little gable and that little tiny window inset in the gable. Those are very distinctive features that catch my eye when I'm out and about looking.
Many Sears homes are almost 100 years old, and they've had facelifts.
That is the challenge these many years later, because these aren't museums, these are homes. But it is like a treasure hunt, because most of the people, even in these homes, don't realize what they have. And almost invariably, I'll knock on the door and I'll say, my name's Rose, I'm doing a survey of Sears homes, and I think you might have a Sears home. And they always say the same thing. They always say, no, I don't. And then they say, what is a Sears home?
I think it's interesting that people let you come in their home.
Well, I get pretty
You knock
excited.
on their door and you say, I know something about your house, can I come in?
But I will share with them some info, and maybe I often have little brochures in my car that I share with people. And it never ceases to amaze me. 3 or 4 weeks they'll drop me an email and they'll say, I can't stop learning about Sears homes. This is fascinating.
Sears quit selling kit homes in 1940 because houses were becoming more and more complex, with increased plumbing and electrical necessities. But today, you'll find Sears homes standing strong in communities throughout the St. Louis region. And you never know. One day you might find Rosemary Thornton knocking at your door.
I think you have a Sears home.
What do you guys think about that video?
Yeah, basically cutting out the middleman, not the construction contractor. I mean, I think if we replicate it today with the use of CNC milling and 3D printing. In fact, I think I've seen some videos that actually use like 3D printed polymers to build homes.
It shows don't change like modern things like just the building official with that.
Yeah, well, people do build their own houses. He doesn't have a good time. What I think is, I don't know, what I find the most awesome about that is the dang stamp on the lumber and everything's pre-cut. I'm like, you could duplicate that so easily now.
Like I just do hard, I don't think I just. You wrote, I mean, it just seems nice.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool little video.
So how long they, you said they're still standing in way, but how did that, people would have gone back and replumbed and rewired them in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, they probably weren't putting insulation in those days. So you have all those upgrades to do. If it's well built, it's worth doing.
Yeah.
But I think of it as having, it's expensive to transition it to what we want now.
Yeah, but every building's like that.
Yeah.
And so one of the videos that I was gonna bring, and it's funny because Alex was just talking about this Sears manufacturing building that he was taking a look at. The video that I almost brought is a there's a video about how buildings learn, right? And essentially how buildings transition over time. The guy, Stuart Brand, who wrote the Polar catalog, wrote this book, How Buildings Learn. And what he what one of his sayings is essentially, you've never finished a building. What you've done is you've only started a building. And I think that's super true, right? And so like a building like this, if they're still standing, they've been able to be transitioned over time. Plumbing's been able to be added. I mean, and look at a lot of our buildings in town. A lot of buildings in town are old, right? Before kitchens were modern kitchens and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. I just think I love the I don't know. I got super. I was like, oh, we should do that.
I think to Jose's point though, when you think about, well, for as long as doing it with cross members of timber and all like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're probably on the precipice of being able to do that stuff, but it's so hard to find like contractors that like specialize in those. A city's development code, or, you know, building something that, you know, in every city, because you have different, you know. Just it's just hard to do prefabricated and not just do on-site construction.
Right, another amazing thing about Sears homes is you could buy them, and you could hire a contractor to install.
Yeah.
You know,
Were the 2x4s still?
Three, not big, but 1 and 5.
was it?
In my parents' home, when they added on to it, because it was built in the 1880s, the first radically defined. The 2x4s are really 2x4s.
Yeah.
You know, and the timbers are good solid wood.
Yeah.
It's not, so I'm wondering what, the wood that they were showing looked nice. And it's not like some of the things I've seen where they have those metal class things that go on a beam, you know, so hold it together. No, not a truss, just on the beam itself. I mean, there's some poor quality wood going in this.
I like that.
All right. Any other comments for tonight? I move that we adjourn. All